Hello, welcome to the Neil's Homestead. I'm Jeanette, and I am definitely in food preservation mode. I've been canning and I've been drying. I haven't been doing very much freezing, but a little bit. Today I'm going to dehydrate okra. This is okra that I've already dehydrated. So I'm taking you along and showing you how I am dehydrating okra to put into my food pantry storage. And so let's go pick some okra first. Well, this is my okra row. I don't know how long it is, but it's fairly long. I think I have 100 plants in here, maybe, if I remember correctly. We planted it in black plastic. I started the seeds in the greenhouse and then planted the plants out here. And they grow real nice that way, and you can get an early start. The black plastic mulch makes it so the weeds are under control, and we run a drip line down through there that we can water at ground level without getting the tops wet if need be. I wear long sleeves and gloves to pick okra because it has a spininess to it that is horrible to try to deal with. It makes you itch, so I always cover myself with gloves and long sleeves. Unless I let the okra get too big, I generally just break it off with my hand and collect it in a box that I carry along at the same time. Well, I'm back in the house with my okra that I got. I'm not going to weigh it, but I'm guessing I got somewhere around 3 to 4 pounds. And I'm going to add it to what I picked 2 days ago. I'm just going to put it all in the sink and give it a quick rinse. I don't feel like okra is all that dirty because it sticks up in the air, but it could be a little bit dusty, so I'm gonna wash it off. To prepare the okra, I'll be blanching it, and so I've got a pot of water on that I'm going to boil. Even after okra's been washed, it can still be really itchy, so I'm careful to handle it and not let it get rubbed on my arms or anything like that, or not even on the backs of my hands, because it can create a lot of itch that doesn't go away very easily. I'm filling my sink with cold water while my water gets hot. And I'm putting quite a bit of ice in there because the hot okra is going to make the water hot quickly. When you dehydrate something, you want to cool it down as quickly as possible and stop the cooking process. The reason for blanching is that fresh vegetables and fruit have an enzyme in them that breaks them down from the time that they're picked until they're finally cooked. They go through a process of already breaking down, and blanching stops that process. It kind of freezes the enzymes, or probably kills the enzymes, and stop the breaking down of it. So your product is fresher if you cook it for that little bit amount of time called blanching. I'm going to try to get this bowl of okra done in 2 batches for the blanching. When the water is actively boiling, then I'm just going to try to put these okra in here in as big handfuls as I can without burning myself, and fill it as full as I feel like I can. And that looks like about half to me. Now the okra kind of wants to float, so I have to push it down in there, well, at least for a few seconds. Make sure that the hot water that's at the bottom is making its way to the top. You're supposed to blanch it for 2 to 4 minutes, so I'm probably going to do it, I like to do it right in the middle and do 3 minutes. Time's up, so we got to get this out of here. I've got a colander with a bowl underneath to catch water, and I'll just put that over there with this spoon. After it's cooked, it doesn't seem quite so prickly and itchy, so I'm not so worried about handling it with my whole hand. It already made all the ice melt, so I'm going to let that cool a little bit, and then I'll put it over here in this colander to drain when I put the other batch into the hot water, and we'll keep it going that way. After the okra is all blanched and cooled and drained, then I'm ready to get it cut up and get it put on the trays for the dehydrator. And so I'm just going to show you how I do it. I'm sure everybody can come up with their own way of doing it that works right for them. But I use a big knife. It's like a giant knife. And I also have this scraper that I pick it up with. I take an okra and I cut off the end right there like that, and just set it aside. Line up a bunch of okra pods with the stem end cut off. And then whenever I get enough, as many as I want, then I line the cut end up in a line, hold it with my hand, and start cutting from the other end. And cut it in like 1/2 to 1 inch pieces, depending on what you want. The smaller you cut it, the faster it's going to dry. I don't discard the other end, the blossom end, because a lot of times what I've noticed is it just dries up anyway, and it gets left behind. And then whenever I get it cut, then I use my scraper to pick it up and lay it out on my tray. I've got this fiberglass screen on here so it won't fall through. And just spread them out like that, and when I get a tray full, then I take it outside where my dehydrator is on my patio, so I don't have the heat in here for the summer, and fill it up tray by tray. I have my trays all stacked up with a towel underneath in case there's any kind of drippage. And then another thing that I didn't tell you yet, but is I have a bucket at my feet right down here, and I scoop up the parts that I trim off and drop them down in the bucket so that it's easy to dispose of. And the rest of it is pretty just boring, tedious job of getting it cut up and getting it on the trays. Well, getting this last little bit done is always a relief. This takes a long time, and it always ends up hurting my back before I'm done, but it always ends. And now I'm ready to put the last shelf into the dehydrator. Okay, we're gonna do this. It's about 3 or 3:30 in the afternoon, so I'm gonna do it for about 12 hours. What time? Maybe 14 hours, and the temperature is going to be 125. They're fairly easy to dry, so it shouldn't take too long. I want to show you what the okra looks like when I bring it out of the dehydrator and unload it. You can see on here how much it's shrunk up. Now the pieces are really crisp and hard. If I smash them, they would shatter. But it's always amazing to me how much it shrinks up, because there's so much water in vegetables that whenever you take the water out, evaporate it, then there's not much left. So and they're also, here's another deal, they're stuck to the screen wire for the most part. So I have to take the screen wire out of there carefully without losing whatever's on there. And then I rake it off into a bowl. And then when I've collected it all up, I've been putting them in gallon Ziploc bags. I think it's probably a good idea to store it in glass, and I might do that later whenever I see how much I have. So anyway, that's putting up dehydrated okra out of my garden. Thanks for joining me.